Now, when it comes to color grading, one of the most difficult things to do is shot matching, especially if you have footage from 2 to 3 different cameras. And say, for instance, a Canon, a Sony, or a Panasonic, but all the footage is of the same scene just from different angles. Now, of course, you're going to want continuity amongst your shots. And you can go through and color grade each shot one by one, and it can be done, but it will take a little bit of time. However, this plugin from Retouch4me looks to simplify that process. Let's imagine you go through and color grade one of your shots, say, for instance, the Sony clip. Then you can take a screenshot from that. Utilizing the plugin, you can color match that to your Canon footage and your Panasonic footage all within a snap.
Nearly forgot to mention, there also is a demo available so you can try before you buy.
This video is not sponsored by Retouch4me. However, they did reach out to me and asked me to take a look at their plugin. I've been messing around with it for about a week or so, and they asked me to do a video to share my thoughts. They also was kind enough to hook my viewers up with a link you can use in the description to get 20% off. The 20% off is for a limited time, so act as soon as you can. Now let's jump to Davinci Resolve and show you how the plugin works.
So on my timeline, I had some S-Log footage from my previous project. If I go over to the color page, I recommend leaving about 2 or 3 nodes of space. So basically you have the one node here, hit Alt S 2 to 3 times to create extra nodes, because you can still make customization and alterations to the color grade. Now, once you download and install the plugin, you do have to activate it, which they'll send you the appropriate information within your account. And then you go over here and activate the effects panel. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see the Retouch4me. So take this and just place it onto a node. Now you get the layout. Now I'm gonna go to choose a reference image. I pulled a reference image from a website called Shot Cafe. I'll leave a link for it in the description.
Hey, real quick, it's actually called Shot Cafe and allows you to download JPEG images from movies and also gives you a color spectrum of what was the colors used in that particular shot. Let me show you.
So real quick, this is the website. You can type in the search bar a movie that you're looking for. You can also break down different attributes if you want a nighttime shot, interior shot, exterior, clean, different things like that. You can just kind of scroll through here. So you can kind of put in like different tags and stuff to try to find a particular scene or a particular look that you're looking for. Otherwise, you can just click on the movie here, and these different JPEG images, of course, all have different color grade schemes to them. You click on one, you can click here to download. You can save it to favorites and create a collection of photos. It has the color scheme that was used, and then also gives you some of the tags that were used to actually basically archive this particular image. Again, link is in the description. From their website, I downloaded some JPEG images of the Batman and a couple other movies. So now I'm going to choose this one here and just hit open. Down here in the corner, it shows you what it's referencing. Down here in the corner, you see this scene from the Batman, and then basically got my original log footage. If you've seen the Batman with Robert Pattinson, you notice a very dark movie, has a lot of like moody tones to it. And from what I can tell here, it replicates those very well. Of course, you have other controls here, like the temperature and tint. You can still adjust, and now if you have the temperature and tint controls, you can use to adjust and change the temperature to use how you see fit. I'm gonna double click to reset that, but you also can use these nodes in front. And of course, you can use the previous nodes to make your own alterations and adjustments. Going back to the plugin, if you have a set of reference photos within a folder, you can hit next. It will just cycle through those. So this is another shot from the Batman. Actually, I'm gonna move this over. It's more of a daylight shot, so it's kind of applying that daylight tone to the footage. If you hit next again, it's another shot. This here, I think, is from the Revenant. So it does a really good job of matching the colors. Looks kind of crazy, but yeah, this matches that color just fine. Further on down, you have other controls like the color blend. This basically acts as the opacity, so you can basically choose how much of the colors that you want to blend with your original footage. The same can be done with the luminance values and the color. You also have a LUT manager. They have a series of LUTs you can download from the cloud for free, and also have some you can pay for. So if you click on LUT manager, it's actually going to bring up another screen. You can go in and match. If I go in here to log, and of course they only have the options of Blackmagic, Canon, Panasonic, and Sony. And clients I've been working with, this Sony is very popular. So you have a series of different log, and so you have a series of different log profiles you can go through and choose from. If you click on the photo icon, it allows you to search your desktop or laptop or anything like that for any LUTs that you have. However, unless you know the exact folder that your LUTs are in that Davinci uses, it will not find those. So if you had just LUTs just sitting on your desktop, perhaps in a folder, you can sort through those and apply them. Other than that, the LUTs that you have integrated into Davinci, it won't recognize those unless you know exactly what file to find them in. Other than that, to apply one of these LUTs, you just simply double click. If I go back here to reset color match, set it back to default and go back into the LUT manager. I'm just going to choose one of these LUTs here. This is actually a Panasonic look. Let's see how it looks. So even though this is Sony footage, I can apply that LUT to this and it looks pretty good. Of course, you can use this as a base on top of whatever color grading you want to do yourself. And even though I had this LUT applied, I can go hit next and it will just basically cycle through the menu of LUTs that's on that home screen. Also at the bottom here, you have the LUT blend. So kind of similar to using the key within the native Davinci Resolve color page. You can use this more or less as an opacity for the LUT. And I don't know how well it comes through on the screen, but if I scroll in, move it up, you can see a little bit of blotching here, which that could be just the footage at that particular scene. The footage more or less is good. But yeah, I think it could be the LUT itself. It's a little bit of blotching right there, which, like I said, it is a Panasonic LUT. So it's not really designed for this Sony log footage. Here I have stock footage from Motion Array. I'm gonna go through and hit a couple of, I'll go through and hit Alt S or Option S if you're on Mac a couple of times. And then on this last node, I'll place the plugin. Then once again, I'll choose a reference image. I actually got an image from Friday, the movie with Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. I'm gonna use that as a reference. You can see here, it applies the colors very well. And as you can see, it matches the blue relatively well. I think it's a little bit darker than the original footage, but like these little brown colors here, they apply to the wood up here. The white, or basically like light gray of his pants, you can see it's kind of applied to these curtains. If I move this out the way and bring up my scopes, but going to the, if I click on the second node here and I select the qualifier and select the skin, or basically his hand, and then go into my highlights, basically see this highlighting his skin. I can look down here on my vector scope and you see the marker here is basically right on this line. This is a skin tone indicator. So it not only did it apply the color grade well, it also maintained the skin tones very well, which can sometimes be hard to do with darker skin.
Like I said at the beginning of the video, I've been messing with the plugin for about a week or so now. And the only con I can really come up with is the fact that it has a missed opportunity to actually help beginner color graders. What I mean by that is when you apply your color grade or apply your reference footage to the plugin, it'll be nice if it can go through and show you what tweaks it made. Like basically if you go through and look at the lift, gamma, gain, perhaps it'll show you the numbers that it's tweaked and it adjusted, the level of curves it adjusted, things like that. I think that'd be a good way to kind of reverse engineer a color grading process to help beginner color graders get a good start. I do see tremendous opportunity with this plugin. Say for instance, if you talk with a client or you're working with a client and they say, hey, I saw this movie the other week or so and I like the color grade. I like the colors that were in that particular film. You can easily Google an image, take a screenshot and just plug into the plugin and replicate those colors. Now, is it exact one-to-one? No. You still have to factor in what camera or footage was used, the tone of the footage that you're using and things like that. However, given the capabilities of Davinci Resolve color grading page, you have pretty much endless resources almost. Davinci Resolve color grading page is pretty much the gold standard when it comes to color grading anyway. So this plugin along with the color page, you pretty much can achieve pretty much any look. Let me know what you think about the plugin in the comment section. Plan on picking up the plugin, be sure to use my link for 20% off, and I'll see you in the next video.